What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my DraftKings Showdown breakdown for the Monday Night Football game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section, who do you like at captain and at utility for tonight's slate? Here's the high-level information. 133.6. That's the average winning score of an optimal lineup for this slate. 49,300 is the median salary used. It's split straight down the middle. 3 Seahawks, 3 Eagles on average in the winning lineup. Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites with a 49-point game total. Now it's time to dive into the captains. Right out of the gate, I would say that there are 3 captains clearly above the rest. Number 1 at 14,400 would be Tyler Lockett. Shows up in the optimal lineup 18% of the time. I think his salary is just simply too low relative to the rest of the slate, and that's why he's showing up very easily in the captain spot. I expect him to be my most popular captain. We can then spend a little bit more money if we want. We can go all the way up 18,900 for Russell Wilson, showing up in the optimal captain 14% of the time. Next step down is going to be to DK Metcalf at 17.1, showing up 12% of the time. Obviously, we're really liking Seattle at the top from the captain spot. After that, we get a lot of guys that look really similar. Carson Wentz, and we don't know how much Carson Wentz is going to be under center. We do have murmurings that Jalen Hurts is getting work as the first team starter, or at least as the first team quarterback. We assume Carson Wentz is still starting. As we get more information, this could change, but for now, I'm just kind of treating it like Carson Wentz gets the majority of the work. Wentz, Miles Sanders, Chris Carson, Travis Fulgham, Jalen Reagor, all of these guys have very similar odds of being in the optimal lineup, somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 8%. It's going to take a lot of additional information. We're going to need public ownership projections in order to make our decisions here. But Wentz, Sanders, Carson, Fulgham, Reagor, they all look really similar to me. So for right now, I can't separate between them all. They're definitely in the second tier behind Lockett, behind Wilson, and behind Metcalf. Now, as we transition to the utility side, as I mentioned before, I like Tyler Lockett at captain. It makes it a little bit easier to get to Russell Wilson. 12.6 at the utility spot. He's the most frequent utility play. 48% of the time he is in the optimal lineup. Then we're taking a step down. We're going to Miles Sanders at 9,200, just north of 40%. We're going to Chris Carson at 8,800, just shy of 40%. It's really easy to make some lineups work with either Sanders or Carson. There's enough salary savings there that these guys look pretty good. After that, you probably want to go to Wentz until we get more information. And then you got to flip a coin between Lockett and Metcalf. If you already have Lockett, obviously this is easy. If you don't have one of those guys in the captain spot, it comes down to salary. Metcalf is going to be $1,800 more expensive than Lockett. They have essentially the exact same odds of being in the optimal, 33% to 32%. That's just rounding as far as I'm concerned. As we work our way down, Travis Fulgham, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Reagor, all about 29% likelihood of being in the optimal. Jason Myers, sort of in the same boat at 30%. Seahawks D is quite a bit ahead of the Eagles D for me, showing up 23% of the time in the optimal. But there is a lot of options if you want to save some salary. You could go to Boston Scott for $1,000, shows up in the optimal 22% of the time. You could go to Freddie Swain at $200, shows up in the optimal 25% of the time. Yes, this could be one of the days where you want to play a $200 player so that you can load up on more of the Carson, Sanders, Lockett, Wentz, Metcalf, Wilson genre at the top. So keep your eye on Freddie Swain, keep your eye on his ownership as we get closer to lock as well. Now, we don't have that public ownership quite yet, but we do have some leans as to directions we would go for fades. Carson Wentz doesn't look like he's terribly likely to be in my captain spot at 15,600, but you know who else doesn't seem like they're going to be in most of my lineups? Jalen Hurts. Hurts is 10.8 in the captain spot and 7,200 in the utility. We need to know that he is just full out the starter for that to look any good. He's going to have to project for north of Chris Carson's 15 points. We probably want him around 15 fantasy points. I think that's going to be impossible pre-lock. So I don't get the sense that I'll have any Jalen Hurts whatsoever on this DraftKings slate. And I assume he picks up enough ownership that it makes that feel fantastic. So I'm greatly avoiding Jalen Hurts. I have no interest going to Carlos Hyde. Shows up in the optimal 6% of the time. He's $7K. He's just not worth that price. I think Greg Ward and David Moore, both not all that interesting. There's a group of guys above them and below them in the salary tier that makes them look like they're not all that interesting. They show up in an optimal about 10% of the time. So if you're playing a 20 max, you might get there once. After that, Will Dissly doesn't look all that great, but we've already worked our way down to an area where you don't want to be all that much. So ultimately, once I see the ownership, my biggest fades are going to be Jalen Hurts because he's going to be overowned on DraftKings, and Carlos Hyde. Just not all that interesting with Chris Carson here. And I expect to be lighter on DK Metcalf in the utility spot than most people. That won't feel good, but if I'm going to DK Metcalf, I'd just rather have him in the captain spot. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my DraftKings Showdown plays for Seahawks and Eagles. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. One last reminder to follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to these sim results. I will also be on Live Before Lock tonight with Adam Scher, half hour before we start our Live Before Lock show, so you can get my breakdown and Adam's breakdown as well. It's going to be a fun one. I will be back tomorrow for Steelers Ravens, so good luck tonight, and I'll see you in the morning.